Spanish soldados on the road. They'll be on you any minute.
Soon we'll all be diving into the open world of Far Cry 6's Yara and attempt to dismantle Anton Castillo's tyrannical regime. As you'd expect from a Far Cry game, Ubisoft's newest open world shooter is vast, dense, and full of things to do, and as you prepare to dive in, here we prepared a few handy pointers that will make your visit to this beautiful island nation a little bit smoother. Start with Madriga. Far Cry 6 starts off on a small island in Yara off the mainland. It's basically the game's tutorial area. But once you get to Yara proper, you'll have the freedom to visit any of the world's regions in whatever order you please. Now that said, while there is no official correct order to tackle the game's world, some of them are a little harder than the others. The best area to start with is Madriga, which feels like a nice progression coming off the starting island. Madriga's main questline also has some important story details that'll give you a better understanding of the story early on, so it makes sense as the first area to head to from a narrative standpoint as well. Keep customizing your weapons.
Battle rifle is a little basic. Let's fix that. Rule number 9. Always use the right tool for the right job.
Customization is a much bigger deal in Far Cry 6 than it tends to be in this series. The game embraces the whole guerrilla motif and puts customization of weapons and even creating new ones from scratch front and center. Resources don't flow too freely though, and you always have a limited number of mod slots per weapon, so our advice is to pay close attention to what upgrades you're upgrading for your weapon. If you're focused on stealth, make sure you save up and get the really good silencers for your weapon. If you prefer long-range combat though, purchasing good scopes can turn rifles into proper sniper rifles. Get a good silencer.
Copy that.
Speaking of silencers, get one for at least one of your vehicles as quickly as you can. In fact, make it your first weapon upgrade. As with any Far Cry game, stealth is a crucial pillar of Far Cry 6's gameplay, and you'll be relying on silenced shots just as much as you will on up-close machete kills. Initially, you won't be able to afford anything but a dinky old silencer made from an old plastic bottle, but once you have enough materials, craft one that takes longer to overheat, so that even if you deal less damage or miss a couple of shots, you'll be able to fire off multiple quick shots before your silencer overheats and is rendered temporarily useless. Also, you'll probably be better off if you put a silencer on a rifle or a submachine gun rather than a pistol, which, doesn't do a ton of damage. Ammo types. This is another small but important part of customization. Far Cry 6 has several different kinds of ammo. On top of regular bullets, you have soft shell bullets, armor-piercing rounds, incendiary rounds, poisoned ammo, and more, and certain enemy types are weaker to specific ammo types. Given the fact that you can only carry 3 weapons and 1 revolver weapon, and that each weapon can only use 1 ammo type at a time, you need to think about what kind of loadout you're heading into a fight with. As such, it's smart to scope out enemies from a vantage point before you head into combat to pinpoint what ammo type they're weak to. Gear perks. Far Cry 6's gear system, thankfully enough, isn't like a typical loot-focused game. There's a limited roster of gear, and rather than increasing different weapon stats or offering minuscule stat upgrades, each gear piece comes with a unique perk, and it's highly recommended that you pay attention to those perks rather than just equipping whatever has the highest rank. Perks can be simple things, like increasing your defense against armor-piercing rounds, or some more interesting ones, like instantly tagging enemies in your vicinity as soon as you perform a stealth melee kill, but they're almost always quite effective in unique ways. Changing your gear loadout depending on what kind of a situation you're heading into can actually be quite useful. Hideout network. Each of Yara's 3 main regions has a camp that serves as your hub in that part of the world, and you can also make upgrades to these camps by adding various facilities with different benefits. Whichever camp you get to first, the first facility you establish should be the Hideout network. Not only will that unlock the wingsuit for you, which is an important part of traversal in any Far Cry game, it'll also unlock the ability to fast travel to any guerrilla hideouts you find throughout Yara. Heat level. Far Cry 6's heat level might sound like a wanted system on paper, but the progression here is much more gradual and much more permanent. Which means the more you kill enemies and destroy enemy vehicles and disrupt Castillo's operations, the tougher things will get for you. Balancing that can be tricky, which is why stealth is always encouraged. Firefights become increasingly more challenging as your heat level rises, so ensure you keep a close eye on it as you explore the open world. Guerrilla paths. Exploring Yara is, in many ways, not that much different from exploring other Far Cry settings, but it does have a few interesting wrinkles. Off the beaten path and highways and roads, for instance, Yara is full of guerrilla paths, twisting trails and tunnels, and hidden pathways used by the guerrilla revolution in its fight against the Castillo regime. Any chance you get, you should explore these paths. Not only will you find plenty of materials and gear, you'll also run into other guerrilla soldiers who might tell you about various points of interest in the world, or even chance across a hidden activity simply by following markings in the environment. Anti-air weapons. Flying about in Yara isn't as uncomplicated and easy as it tends to be in most Far Cry worlds. Anton Castillo has set up various anti-air weapons throughout Yara, which means the skies aren't exactly safe until you track down these installations and destroy them. That is, of course, enough reward in and of itself, but these sites also tend to have depleted uranium, which is one of the rarest resources in Far Cry 6 and is used to make special resolver weapons. So if you learn about or come across an anti-air weapon, make sure to head to it sooner rather than later. Vehicles. Far Cry 6 will give you a free vehicle in its early hours, but throughout the game, you'll also be able to add to your own collection. There are a number of different vehicles in Far Cry 6, but you don't add them to your permanent collection simply by driving them. If you find a vehicle you like, make sure you take it to a vehicle drop-off point so that you can then summon it whenever you want and customize it however you want. So what are your thoughts on this? Go ahead and share them in the comments below, and if you like the video, please subscribe to the channel and enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon to get new video updates. We upload every day and would really appreciate your support. Thanks for watching.